Hello, this is Daniel Asher. Welcome to Developing Daniel Asher podcast on Podomatic. Thank you for tuning in to the video aspect of this episode. I'm going to press resume here on the Podomatic recorder. Okay, welcome back to the show. Here on Podomatic Player app and on the camera app on the laptop. I don't know what topic I can really talk about right now. So the first thing I want to say is thank you to the 22 subscribers on YouTube for I'm not sure what it's called now. I'd have to go back. I'd have to go back to YouTube here on the TV to know what this is called. But as you can see, I put some face paint over my forehead because at the moment I'm experimenting to see what's causing my forehead and face eczema. And so far it looks like, of all things, a cleanser or a lotion is causing me to break out, not the face paint. But I'm not fully convinced of that yet, so I'm covering up the top of my forehead until I know for certain what's causing my eczema. Okay, so I was gonna put sunglasses on, but I don't have any around. So far it looks like the Daniel Vaillant Show is the YouTube channel that I do this on usually, and for the 22 subscribers on the Daniel Vaillant Show channel on YouTube, thank you. The other day I was starting to talk about classic Raw episodes because I'm starting what's it called? I'm starting to write list articles. I'm doing a sample article about the top 10 WrestleMania main events between the inaugural Royal Rumble winner automatically getting shot at WrestleMania for the title. From WrestleMania 10 to WrestleMania 20. I've never done this before, so I'm trying to. I know how important doing a podcast is to something like this because it's very similar. So I thought to myself, just like I was looking at old videos to try to write about World War III, first ever one, I thought, why don't I use that for my podcast so I can have a better idea of how to write? What I discovered was how, when looking at some other list articles, I realized this first time that I know of where somebody's writing about matches from WrestleMania, build-up versus the actual results of the match. And the first one was in 1994, as I said earlier. And the reason I had to look at the build-up was because of the unusual circumstances that happened at the end of Royal Rumble 94. But I don't want to ruin it, so I'm going to do it week by week. So I found out recently when I was watching a little bit of the old WWE Saturday night show Superstars, I think it was. They don't have all of it from beginning to end, but they do have the ones in the 90s beyond 94. So I started watching that so I can know if Lex Luger was announced for the Royal Rumble in that episode or not. And it was like January 8th, I believe, 1994 edition of Raw, of Superstars. So I thought, why don't I do something I've never done before? Why don't I talk about WWE Superstars from the mid to late 90s? Because it's where a lot of the information came from, was from that time era. When we were only watching Nitro, and I'm talking about months before Hall and Nash showed up on Monday Nitro to start the NWO angle, long before that started, I remember my dad flipping through the channels. It was probably Sunday night, and we found out something happened in either a pay-per-view or a show, and it was big time at the time, and it was between Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Diesel. So it had to have been in 1995 when this happened. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to look at the weekend shows before I look back, because when I'm finished with the list, with the sample article list, I'll go back to talking about Raw versus Nitro. But at the moment, I think it's important that I spend this time to talk with y'all about what's the word I'm looking for. So anybody who's ever watched Superstars knows that if you're a wrestling purist at heart, then Superstars was the show to watch. Because in the late 90s, if you watched WWF for the action, excuse me, the reason I keep on saying excuse me is because I don't want to understand what it is, but I found out from my brother that when you have how do you say that the right way? I don't know what it is, but when you have I don't want to get too political on here because I'm not a political person, so I don't want to offend anybody, but what I will say is what I will say is autism or Down syndrome or anything like that is a legitimate medical term, and there's a lot of times when that's how a lot of times when a lot of people decide, and I should just say, when I say people, let me restate that there's a lot of times when we in this, as humans, if you ever hear somebody say, the R word or anything like that, it's because most people that have heard about the about Down syndrome and things like that, up until about, I guess, the last 20-something years. I mean, I think it's been about 22 years since they started when they started to talk about autism. And the reason I tend to say WWF instead of WWE is because that's the WWE that I grew up watching, that I'm really a fan of, is the World Wrestling Federation. So what I will say opposite of that is World Wrestling Federation Superstars. That way won't the letters won't sound bad. And by that I mean I could get sued or other people could get sued because of World Wildlife Fund. So that's actually one of the reasons, besides the tax break, another reason they went with entertainment was to keep from getting in legal battles with the Wildlife Fund. So please excuse me for saying World Wrestling Federation, because when I say that, that's me, the only way I know how to deal with my condition the way it is by saying how I speak, how I feel comfortable speaking. And since these are shows that are from when I was a kid, that's why I revert back to the Federation name. So what I had seen was right away they had announced that Lex Luger would be added to the Royal Rumble match, and along with being added to the Royal Rumble match, they were also going to add two of Mr. Fuji's men, the Great Kabuki and Tenru, I believe. I remember those names because one had been a legend for many years by this time. The other one, however, I remember that name because it's the number 10 and it's the letters RU. So I thought, that's an interesting name to use when I saw the spelling of it. I may have made a mistake here. As a matter of fact, I'd have to go back to the WWE original program, and the reason they put Superstars, and I thought this was so interesting because it's different than a regular TV show or sport. So what I thought was interesting, is how when they put the emblem WWE, and they put Superstars, that's to that's to show the playlist for each star, or to show each star and the videos they're in that complement this section. That's why I think it's interesting. Then you go to in-ring. They have different sections for in-ring, but what I really like is how they broke up the section from every Survivor Series ever, because we're in the month of Survivor Series. Premium live events, WWE Friday Night SmackDown and then Survivor Series, broke it up into the actual pay-per-view section itself of the names. Like they have Money in the Bank, Crown Jewel, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, SmackDown, Money, Fastlane, Vengeance. I hate that name, but it's the name of the pay-per-view. No Mercy, Unforgiven. Another name I don't like. Then you have Armageddon, Main Event, Taboo Tuesday, Day 1, which was started 2 years ago, Level Up, NXT Level Up, which is it's probably like newer NXT stars having an opportunity to show what they can do. Here it is, 6 seasons of Superstars. Okay, let's see, what was this? Okay, yeah. January 1st, 1994. No. Already saw what happened in that one. Take a look at January 8th, 1994. Build these out and get back. They're airing in the background. They were airing the advertisement of Slim Jim with LA Knight and Bianca Belair. And I said this in another video, I don't remember what video it was, but the reason they added that for people who may not know the significance of that is, even though I'm sure it's happenstance, they had, they used to have Randy Macho Man Savage doing the original Slim Jim commercial in the 90s, between the first in the WW in the World Wrestling Federation during the first year of Raw. Then he brought that to Nitro in their first year. So they brought it back for the nostalgia aspect, but they added LA Knight because he says yeah all the time. For people who may not be interested in the newer product, LA Knight always says LA Knight, then he ends with yeah, like that. So I don't believe it was just because of that. I think it was for the sake that a lot of people may not know who LA Knight is, and may not, or if they know who LA Knight is, they may not know who Randy Savage is. So it actually worked good in two ways. It worked good for the older fan who isn't interested about the new stuff, and it helps the younger fan who doesn't know about the old stuff. So it complements each other. I put subtitles so that I can know what they're talking about in the dialogue. But at the moment, I don't see any words coming up. Hmm. Oh yeah, I actually saw a little bit of this match. Yokozuna going in a going against two men in a handicap match. Because traditionally speaking, as big as Yokozuna was, all it took was two smaller men for him to face. Bert, um, This was so long ago, by the way, that the microphone still had a wire attached to them instead of it being wireless and a battery inside. Cornette came out with them as usual because he's the American representative. Mr. Fuji's the Scott Taylor and Bert Centino are his opponents. To start off this show, and Cornette was the American representative. Mr. Fuji was the Japanese representative. So that's why they were always together. This is the build to Royal Rumble. The biggest build of the pay-per-view was the main event between Yokozuna and The Undertaker. So, I believe what happened was try to do the casket match between Undertaker and Yokozuna at, I believe, Survivor Series. And too many people ganged up on The Undertaker helping Yokozuna win, so they had decided to do a casket rematch for Royal Rumble 94 to be more fair towards The Undertaker. And I believe this was the same time when Chuck Norris came in to be a special outside referee. And I think that's how good it used to be. Everything they did made sense. They use psychology to the degree that people don't even think about today. So that's how good it used to be. Okay. Yokozuna took Salt, threw it in the air. I think they may have explained that once, but I forgot what it was for. That purpose of doing that. Oh, I forgot. Part of developing Daniel Asher is me pretending or practicing to cut a promo. Put face paint over my forehead because I wanted to paint up my face for for my on-screen character Daniel Asher. And I thought, why don't I paint up my face for practice also? This would be the way I would want to speak if I was to cut a promo. And I was really debating big time, and still am debating big time on how do I want to plan my my promotions in these episodes. First thing I would talk about is what makes me want to be, what role do I want to portray, and why do I want to be that character? Why do I want to take on that role in this business? This is what I would say. Hello, Daniel Escher here. The role that I'm looking into taking on in the wrestling business is the manager role. I could be a commentator later on, but where I live, they only offer to train you to be either a wrestler, referee, or a manager. Physically, I can't get in the ring. So when I read that you'd spend more time being taught the locker room etiquette, how to speak for people, how to speak how to deal with public speaking, how to deal with the promoters, and how to handle the talent you represent. I said, that's what I'm looking for. And one thing I forgot to say is I always loved the manager role. I always found that to be. I wanted to be a wrestler growing up, but my second choice was always being a manager. I just never thought that would become popular again. But for the past few years, I've noticed how that's become popular again. So it's the right time to try this or to think of practicing to try this. So, what is Daniel Asher about? Well, when I look at today's wrestling, I look at how you have Paul Heyman, great manager, but he doesn't stand out. You have you have other men that are a lot like him. You have Jim Cornette, who may still take bookings for Legends events. I'm not sure if he does or not. For me, the greatest manager ever, um, representing the men's side of things, had to be Bobby the Brain Heenan because he was purely acting, and the fact that he wrestled and managed like Sherry did, sensational Sherry did, or like um, the man who portrayed Jeff Jarrett's what do you call that promoter? His promoter in the WWE, Tennessee Lee, who also portrayed a promoter in WCW as Colonel Parker. Those people also were wrestled. He too wrestled and managed, or promoted, as people say it. So I just realized, as much as I would like to be a commentator and manage, because because I thought being a commentator was a really good thing to try out. So as much as I would want to be a commentator, if I had the opportunity, managing is what my real dream is, because I always thought of speaking for people in this business. I always thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could do like what I saw Parker do, like what I saw Jimmy Hart or Sensational Sherry do. That role always was the most amazing thing to me. As amazing as the entering part is, when you go out in front of an audience and you have to talk. Now, if somebody was to ask me, cut a promo against someone, the best way I could do it, I'm not trying to get canceled because of today's cancel culture mentality, but like if somebody was to say to me, get heat on yourself, how would I do it? Simplest way I could say it is I would go out or come on here, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitter, or whatever the case may be. I would go, I would come on here, even on audio, and I would talk like this against things that have been said in real life. Like, I really can't think of a more polarizing topic to talk about than the current president of the United States. So I would say this. If I was to really get heat on myself the best way I know how, the heat I would get on myself would be to talk against um, Owens or Zayn or Steve Macklin or anybody like that decided to be neutral instead of say how they felt about the current president when he was in his first term. So I would have to say this. Steve Macklin, you should be ashamed of yourself. You stand in this country, the same country you fought for in the Army, and you're not going to stand behind your brother in uniform, Jackson Riker, when he did the same thing that people did, that any other person would have done if Obama was in office, or if Bill Clinton was in office. But you're going to be neutral about something of this importance. When you stood for the freedom that this man is trying to reestablish in this country. That would be how to get heat on myself. Because I realized how people are not as patriotic as they used to be. That's how I would get heat on myself, is to acknowledge that. Now that I've said that, let me say what I really believe. I'm not really big into nicknames because a lot of people misuse names. Like, to this day, Tony Schiavone cannot say greatest match ever because it became a hyperbole. You cannot even say it as a joke without him feeling like, can't you drop it? So that's why I'm not too big on nicknames. But if I was to use a nickname, this would be the nickname that I think people would probably give me. They would probably call me the hmm. I'm not really catchy with a lot of things. So what I would say is, if I thought somebody would give me a name and it wasn't an immature name, it was just an honest opinion of how I speak, I would say the most honest and the most truthful thing I could say to describe the way I look at things would be the the anti-society. And by that I mean I see how things look in society, but I don't follow it. So if there's a better word for it, I would like to know. So I would say if there was a fitting nickname, I would say it would be anything that sound like, he's against the way things are seen in society. Not against society itself, he's against the way people see society as being. Like, if people were to look at political correctness, they would likely think, a large percentage of people would likely look at that and think, well, that's what okay, so, never mind. I would go back to that and say, people think that focusing on political correctness and being politically correct, if that is their idea of speaking the right way, then they would probably say I'm anti that. So the best word I could put it is anti-popular, or anti. By the way, Yoko's gonna start this match off left shoulder block to Scott's partner, then a right shoulder block to Scott. Misses that clothesline attempt. Double drop kick. Scatters him or staggers him, but he's still standing. go for another double drop kick, and he gets out of the way. Lets them fall. He's trying to, quote, listen to Mr. Fuji's guidance. He chops Scott's tag team partner, Bird, I believe, on the mat, and he hits, thanks Scott, with another chop. Jim Cornette's outside fussing at the audience, to the audience in English. He just did a version of a super kick that did Yoko to, I believe, Bert, and goes to Scott, but he gets hit in the stomach and then in the face a few times with the right hand. It looked like it had too much effect, just like that. He gets hit with what looked like was a slap to the face. Belly to belly suplex, a la Magnum TA. Turns around, Bert's hitting him with rights in the stomach. He picks him up, practically gave him a scoop slam with one hand. Once the ropes comes back, leg drop, perfectly executed. Matter of fact, Jim Ross described Yokozuna as being one of the greatest super heavyweights he had ever seen and met, because as big as he was in his weight, he did not hurt people when he would move around, and he always knew the right time to do everything. Okay, he's done enough damage, he believes, so he's pulling them both up to the ring ropes so they could do the bonsai drop on them, and he puts one on top of the other, which is actually the right way to do it. Okay. He wins, he gets the 3 count, stands up. I don't know what it is about Polynesian people, but they do sometimes look like they could be Oriental. So that's why this was perfect for Yokozuna. Because when he shaved, he did look more Oriental than anything. And he was built like a sumo wrestler, so this was perfect. Yokozuna is actually the name of, I believe, weight class in sumo wrestling. So that's why this was a perfect character for Rodney Anawai. The Undertaker is still working on the casket for the Royal Rumble. And as they're showing this, you can just see the fear in the eyes of Yokozuna. I've never trained for anything in wrestling like this, but just watching it as a fan and knowing how I've heard people say to practice what you want to do before you try to train for something. Fortunately, I do have a place in the state I live where I could train for this, so that's why I'm practicing. First was just to see, could I do this? And when I thought of all the different DVDs I've seen throughout the years, I realized, well, I'm not just a fan of this, I study this. So I thought, now wouldn't be a bad idea to see if there's a way to train for this. When I saw Wildcat Training Center in Louisiana, I said, this is what I'm looking for. if people were to ask why it's hard to, it's hard for the WWE to be as big as it once was. A lot of it has to do with how long they decided to do things. It's because how long they had Vince McMahon in charge, and a lot of fans can get very cynical about the WWE and thinking that WWE could never be as good as it once was or better. So that's why I think that's why AEW can or TNA or any company like that could come out and the audience will take Raw off, NXT off, or even SmackDown off and watch TNA or NWA because they don't have they don't have the they don't believe that that Raw, SmackDown, or NXT can be as good as it used to be. And I can understand that to a degree because unless you're big enough of a fan to want to be in it, then most people do stop watching when it's hard to believe it's real. The next person who came out for their match is Double J Jeff Jarrett, and I have to be honest, as much as Eric Bischoff criticized his wrestling attire in WCW, I have to be honest, what he wore on the way to the ring was worse than what he wore, at least right here. The first sort of coat he wore was worse than the Double J jacket he wore when he was the Intercontinental Champion in '95, I believe. So that's why that's why you look. That's why you have to be very fair about this. I didn't think his suit looked that bad because that was interesting. What I liked was the middle of his suit because his straps used to be 5 across. The middle always had a different color than the rest, and I thought that was interesting. He starts off this match by doing the old-fashioned getting in between the ropes to have the referee hold back his opponent. They came in with a cheap shot. Irish whip, back body drop to his opponent, then a kick. Let's see. Irish whip, clothesline. Irish whip, drop kick. And as this is happening, he had done a pre-inserted promo in a cowboy hat, sunglasses, and a suit. As the old-fashioned Tully Blanchard slingshot suplex on his opponent. Irish whip. This time his opponent comes around with a waist lock, goes for the Pat O'Connor roll, but kicks out at 2 to Jeff Jarrett. Right hand, knocks down his opponent. Right hand, knocks him down. He kicks him in either between the head or the neck. Picks him, helps him stand up, puts his forehead into the Turnbuckle pad, Irish whip. Ooh, he misses that elbow attempt. The corner's opponent connects that hip toss. Let's see. Irish whip. Holds on to the ropes. Looks like 2, 3. Hold on. Alright. I'm back. Now. Trying to remember. Trying to remember the last thing I spoke about. Okay, I was able. Jared's opponent is Rich Myers, by the way. When he held on to the ropes for his opponent to miss the drop kick or a drop kick, he pins his opponent and he slightly pulls up the trunks to cheat to win. Never got caught. One with pulling the trunks. Turns his opponent around, kicks him in the gut, DDT. Oh yeah, he was over big time right here. After this is over, they promote the latest magazine. Shawn Michaels on the cover of it. They also show a picture on the top right hand of the magazine, a picture of Doink the Clown. Then they wrote an article on Double J trying to be in country music. Show him at the Grand Ole Opry and everything. This was at the time when Jim Ross could still show emotion in his face before he had Bell's palsy. So they showed him promoting Royal Rumble 94 this week on Superstars. And you could see how happy and excited he was to announce it. Oops. May have hit restart by mistake. I didn't mean to. Takes about a minute for this promotion to happen on Peacock. So I'm going to wait for the promotion to finish before I try to see if the... Hold on, I gotta pause this because I think my mom's about to ask me something. I'm in the back room. I took him outside. Okay. Darn it. Sorry. Hello. This is Daniel Van. I don't know why, but I've been recording longer on the camera app than on the Podomatic recorder. So, I'm trying to understand that. Till I get this till I can start seeing the till I can start reading the subtitles, I have to I have to press the audio in the background for Jim Ross to speak, to hear what Jim Ross has to say. Thank you. Hope y'all can hear this.
There's a man who is already a WWF star. And certainly in his own mind, Shawn Michaels. How arrogant can you get? On the cover of the WWF magazine available worldwide this Tuesday, Shawn Michaels gracing the cover. However, on the inside, back to old Double J, Jeff Jarrett, you can see all of his shenanigans take place in Music City, USA. Okay, standing by, Jim Ross. We'll get you back to the action, ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment or two. I hope you're getting excited about the WWF Royal Rumble coming your way exclusively on pay-per-view. It'll be on Saturday night, January 22nd. You know that the Providence, Rhode Island Civic Center has already sold out. So the only way that you can be a part of this tremendous event is to call your local cable company and join us on pay-per-view. One of the most intriguing matchups at this WWF Royal Rumble will be for the Intercontinental Championship. The Intercontinental Championship, certainly in the last several months, in my opinion, has taken on an added dimension because of Shawn Michaels' situation. Shawn Michaels suspended by President Jack Tunney for failing to defend the Intercontinental title. Some speculated it was because he didn't want to wrestle Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon ends up winning the Intercontinental title via the Battle Royal process, but his problems with Shawn Michaels continue. On the other hand, Irwin R. Shyster has not been involved in this much controversy. And when I talked to Irwin this week about his Intercontinental Championship challenge to the Razor at the WWF Royal Rumble, I asked him if he thought Razor's problems with Shawn Michaels would help him in this Intercontinental title match.
Well, you know something, Jim Ross? Through none of my doing, this situation has gone well. And I'm talking about Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon's conflict. You see, because Razor Ramon, if you're not concentrating at Royal Rumble on Irwin R. Shyster, I can guarantee this. I will become the Intercontinental Champion.
Now, you and Shawn Michaels are not in collusion, are you?
No, like I said before, through none of my doing, Jim Ross, this situation has just come about. But I'm a man that takes advantage of a good situation that benefits myself. And that's exactly what I'm going to do at Royal Rumble when I take Razor Ramon's Intercontinental Championship away.
So I think IRS does make some pretty good points. And we stay on the same subject when I caught up with the bad guy earlier in the week. And I asked him if he could get Shawn Michaels off his mind long enough to think about IRS at the WWF Royal Rumble.
The truth, Jim Ross? No. I cannot forget what Diesel and Shawn Michaels do. You cannot take that kind of beating and forget. So the bad guy will use it against you, Taxman. Royal Rumble, you want this gold? You get your shot. But Taxman, this one cannot be ripped off. Cannot be bought. You want my gold? You're gonna have to fight it. And that, Taxman, is what Razor Ramon does best.
Whatever you do, ladies and gentlemen, make plans now to see the WWF Royal Rumble. That Intercontinental Championship matchup is going to be a great one. Saturday night, January 22nd on pay-per-view. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, former World Wrestling Federation champion in action, the Hitman Bret Hart.
What is really interesting to me as I watch that and listen to the I didn't forget my thought. I just heard my mom speaking. I didn't want to stop if I didn't need to. So, what I find interesting as I'm watching this old footage, thinking about their WWE's move to Netflix in a little under 2 months, because it's going to be the first Monday of the year when they move to Netflix officially. What I'm thinking is, I wonder when they move Raw and the rest of the Netflix, I mean, all of the rest of the WWE Network videos to Netflix. I wonder if any of the. I wonder if they're going to be able to. What word am I looking for here? Wondering if they're going to add any more TV show episodes their from their library, or if they're just gonna do they're just gonna keep things the way they are and just add more specials. That's what I find intriguing. What I really find intriguing, I forgot about this thought I had. What I really find intriguing the most is, will you be able to block other shows that you probably don't like on Netflix? Like myself. You have a lot of shows I'm not really interested in watching outside of the WWE. I wonder if I can block any of those shows on Netflix. I'm just saying that I can fill up space before I talk about whatever this. I think this is a fan from the audience that they let do some ring announcing or ring introductions for the next match featuring Bret Hart.
Federation ring announcer Chris McKenna.
Oh, Chris McKenna is his name. Okay.
Yes, Chris McKenna.
This is at the time when Owen was going to be his tag team partner at the Royal Rumble. So Owen came out with his own pair of sunglasses over his eyes, just like Bret, and he was clapping hands with the audience to say thank you. Last time I saw that was when I went to a live event and TNA was really, really fun to watch. And they came around Louisiana. And I saw Beer Money do the same thing to the audience. So his opponent is Mike Bell right here. I don't. Only time I put an audience usually the only time I put the sound on is when I can't read what's being said on the screen. Yeah, Owen does just like Brad. He puts the pair of sunglasses over the fans' eyes as a souvenir. Lock up against Mike Bell right here, right away. Side headlock taken down by Brett. By the way, if you ever wondered what the stars on the back of Bret Hart's tights represent his kids. Okay, Mike Bell is portraying the hill, I believe, as he's trying to do the side roll up, which is the traditional maneuver to break the side headlock takedown. He's trying to sneak in a victory here on Brett. Brett goes forward to break it a couple of times, or at least one time. He pulls Brett's hair, throws him off as he gets into the ropes. Clothesline, does a pretty good clothesline takedown Brett. Owens cheering him on, like, come on, Get up. Couple of right hands, no effect on Brett. So Brett comes back with the right hand of his own and hits him with the headbutt. Irish whip. Elbows him down. From face lock. Vertical suplex. Let's see. Standing leg drop. They show pre-inserted comment. Pre-inserted promo by Owen talking about how he and Brett plan on winning the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship at the Royal Rumble against the Quebecers. And Brett finishes it. Comes off from the middle rope with his patented elbow. The reason I think that was so effective is because he would do like he was driving it into his opponent's chest, and if you do that, it will look like it's to enough punishment to make the opponent feel like that's enough for them to want to give up. Goes straight in for the sharpshooter. He gives up right away. He's even tapping out. I don't know how many people know this, or remember this, or have ever realized this, but years before years before they started to tap out, you used to have to shake your head yes. So I don't know why tapping out, I don't know when or why they started to tap out, but when you tap out, it's actually a better way to submit because let's not forget this is more entertainment and less of a sport. So that's why I understand them tapping out. Show replay where you pointed out the how the parts of the match that helped drive home the point of why Bret Hart won the match. It was not just the sharpshooter, it was side Russian leg sweep, it was driving the elbow against the opponent's chest, and then it was the sharpshooter, and they even show that twice as Brett and Owen are walking to the back. Owen actually emphasized how the execution of the maneuver to Brett, saying why he believes he and Brett are going to win the titles at the Royal Rumble. Things like that's missing today. That's the kind of psychology that's missing today in the storytelling. So they go straight to an Ico Pro promotion by Scott Hall, who's working out in the gym. They even show clip of him doing belly to back suplex and then showing him doing his Razor's Edge finisher, saying you got to want it. What's amazing is Ico Pro is still around. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I saw Adam Cole do a modern day Ico Pro promotional commercial at In Your House, NXT In Your House, when they brought it back. Earlier, I was talking about Randy Savage doing the Cinnamon Twist Slim Jim commercial. Here it is right here in the middle of the Superstars episode. Yet he had packs of them in a locker that he took the hinges off the door of. Up next is Raymond Rougeau. I think it's maybe a way you pronounce Raymond in French. His younger brother Jacques is one half of the World Tag Team Champions at this time. So I find that interesting. Yeah, he's about to interview his brother and his brother's tag team partner, Jacques Pierre, excuse me. He's about to interview Jacques and Pierre with their manager, once again, needed that. I needed the audio for that.
I always like to keep my favorite snack handy. Need a little excitement? Step up some dip. Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guests this week are accompanied by their manager, Johnny Polo. They are the reigning WWF Tag Team Champions, Shock and Pierre, the Quebecers. And yes, the Quebecers, as we stated before, headed this Monday night to Monday Night Raw, defending the Tag Team Championship for the 1-year anniversary show against Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 Kid. Understand there's going to be a big party, and I love parties. You going to be there? Oh, yeah. It seems that you have had your problems as of late with one Lex Luger. I hate Lex Luger. He's a yellow-bellied coward. First of all, he sticks a piece of metal on his elbow so he can be like the Bionic Man or something. Then he has a match with Pierre, knocks him out. Then he has a match with Shock, knocks him out, knocks Pierre out again. Then he knocks me out. Tell you what, come Royal Rumble, I hope you're left all alone in the ring with 10 of our friends, and you'll find out you're not such a knockout after all. All right, gentlemen, in 2 weeks, these coveted WWF Tag Team belts will be on the line against the brother team of Owen and Bret Hart. That's what's in the plan, oh. Royal Rumble, Owen beat Bret Hart. I'm up across either. Now, wait a minute. Could you extend us a little courtesy and speak some English? Hey, we don't care about English. We don't care about Americans. Let me tell you one thing. There is no one in the world wrestling federation that is close like Pierre and I. We share everything. And I'll tell you something else, too. Brothers are always close. And I'll tell you something else. And brothers don't always get along. Give me the microphone, right? Let me tell you something. To prove what kind of champions we are, this Monday night on Raw, we will be defending the belts against Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 Kid, who are much worthier opponents than those stupid Hart brothers. And I'll tell you what, too. We're going to show the world that we are not closet champions. We are fighting champions. And come, after we take care of those two at Royal Rumble, we're going to show you what brotherly love is all about.
By the way, people who could hear the background promo by Jacques, he said brothers are not always close and brothers don't always get along. Unfortunately, that was an inside joke because he and his brother who was interviewing them can't get along. And not only them, but to this day. So that shows how much realism is important despite this being a show. Using realism is very important in this form of acting. So that's why I thought I'd share that because I think it's amazing when they talk about if anybody follows cutting promos in the right formula, which would be how and why, they will always come up with the right thing to say. I'm going to end it right here. I'm going to do part 2 later on. Thank you and goodbye.